civil service officer. He is an exponent of pure Vedantic wisdom, a vocal warrior against superstition and inner weakness, a promulgator of pure spiritual veganism, and an expounder of essential human freedom. I would like to welcome Acharya Prashant to BITS Pilani, Hyderabad campus.
Thank you.
Charji, with your permission, we can move on to the student questions now.
Sure.
Hello, sir. I am Devansh, and I am a student in Electronics and Instrumentation Department.
Devansh, sorry to interrupt. I hope you have audio recording enabled for you.
Yes, sir.
Discussed. Okay, now you can proceed.
So, sir, my question is regarding the movie Three Idiots. Everyone of us has seen the movie, and in that movie, it was shown that we should rely on practical knowledge instead of the book knowledge. But one cannot understand everything practically until and unless they have a basic theoretical knowledge. So, what should be the ratio of book knowledge to practical knowledge for the best understanding of any subject or anything?
These two obviously have to go together. There is an unfortunate tendency, especially in our country, to berate, underestimate, and sometimes make fun of institutionalized knowledge, academic knowledge contained in books. In fact, I do not quite understand how there can be some kind of knowledge that is not contained in books. As if the books contain falseness or incomplete information or data or knowledge, and by doing things practically, one would know of what is missing in the books. This is quite strange. I understand there might be badly written books. And when you have a badly written book, then it is possible that the knowledge it has does not serve its purpose. But to say that the stuff contained in books does not deeply apply to the so-called practical world, and the ones who live with books, are fond of books, go deeply into books, are just bookworms, is to betray both ignorance and probably malicious intent. You see, it requires a lot of patience, application, and attention to learn from a book. I'm not talking of rote learning. I'm not talking of parrot-like memorization. I'm talking of actually learning from books. And books, since the dawn of history, have been probably the most potent vehicle in the conveyance and dissemination of knowledge. So it is all right if a pop movie totally underrates and underestimates the importance of books, but that's not what reality is like. there are many fields of, let's say, theoretical physics or mathematics, where there can be nothing like practice or practicality, where the entire stuff is bound to be merely theoretical, but very useful, theoretical, but very applicable. Now, how will you say that you don't want to learn from books and you just want to have practical knowledge? If I'm talking of quarks and bosons and string theory, how exactly are you going to put practice over book knowledge? Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
So, when I talked of malicious intents, you see, when the intent is to not put in that kind of work and concentration into books, then it becomes quite tempting and facile to simply make fun of books. And the proportion of people who are not very fond of knowledge is always very high. They will greatly outnumber those who can put in the hours, the attention that is needed to humbly learn and absorb from a book. And if there is a movie, obviously the producer, the financer, they are looking for numbers, right? If you produce a movie that venerates books, it's not going to gross you the revenue that you expect. Your desire regarding box office collections cannot come fulfilled from a right movie. So then there is this trend, and it's not a new trend, it's been there since long, to, for example, extol somebody who has, let's say, a CGPA of 5, and you'll have pop literature coming of that kind. A fellow who has a 3-point CGPA, 4-point CGPA is actually the real stud, and the ones who work and exert themselves as per the system, they are just fools, dull, boring idiots, uninspiring bookworms. It sells. It sells. In no way am I saying that practice of learned concepts in the material world is unnecessary or secondary. I opened my reply with the clear acceptance that the classroom, the library, and the laboratory plus field work have to go together. So these have to go together, but I just do not see the point in being in a chemistry lab without knowing what the compounds are like. You first of all have to be with the books. Only then the laboratory can be of some use to you. You can go to your computer lab and you don't know a thing about coding. What will you do there? What will you type on the machine? You have not learned coding at all. And coding you can learn only through books. I would be very eager to understand how one can simply hit the field and learn coding on the job. You have to, whatever, master some language, C++, Java, whatever is the language you're looking for. Show me how you can do it without a book. Books are very, very important. The more you think about it, the more you'll realize that we have not been as respectful to books as we need to be. We have not given knowledge its due place and due attention and due respect, right? So equally, I accept that if we look at, for example, the Indian education system, there are a lot of people who will do very well in the exams, but when they go to their jobs, they don't seem to be able to perform at all. That's not the fault of the concept of the book per se. That is really the problem with a badly executed examination system, teaching system, the evaluation, the expectation of the teachers, and obviously, as we had said, the problem lies with badly written books. So the book itself is written in a way that it does not encourage the student to go deep into itself, that the book itself is nudging the student to just remain superficial and just cram the sentences or the numbers and secure the grades. And the book and the assessment system are hand in glove in discouraging real immersion into knowledge. That's what we see, especially in India. But let's not put the blame on books. Books are great, books are important. We require lots and lots of people, especially youngsters, to have love for books, and not only academic books, but books pertaining to all dimensions of life, all areas, all fields, all places. Behind this ill-informed contempt for books, if you will see, probably lies a deeper contempt for knowledge itself. What we are saying is, knowledge is not important. Being street smart is more important. And that's a very dangerous thing to say. Very, very dangerous thing to say. Tell me, you talked of that movie. How could that movie have been made without the knowledge that comes from books? Show me how the theater can be erected. Show me how the camera can be made. Show me how all the processing equipment can be made without the aid of books. It is from books that all those things arise, not from general street smartness. And this idea is gripping especially your generation in a vice-like way, that knowledge is of very little use. You need to have the worldly smarts. Those smarts can't help you beyond a point. Having a strong academic theoretical foundation is of supreme value. Even the smartest of mechanics cannot outsmart an engineer. And even the smartest of engineers cannot outsmart a researcher. Are you getting it? So, please, let's all have deep respect for knowledge. And books are important because they carry knowledge. And let not this dangerous and shallow idea about practicality influence us too much. The ones who work in laboratories, in research labs, for example, are very, very knowledgeable people. Even practical experiments cannot be conducted except on a solid foundation of knowledge. You cannot just walk into a lab like a novice and say, now I learn from here. That's not the way it can work. If you want to contrast the fellow in the library against the fellow in the laboratory, remember, the fellow in the laboratory has first of all already spent a lot of time in the library. Without spending time in the library, you cannot even enter the laboratory. What will you do there? These two go hand in hand, and out of these two, to a student, the library, the classroom, and the books come first. So let not Three Idiots or some other movie of that kind delude you. Anything more you want to investigate on this?
Yes, sir. I have a follow-up question to this.
Sure.
Related to the same movie, Three Idiots, that it built a false perception. I would justify why I calling it false. The perception about college life that everything is chill, everyone is full of enthusiasm, and a different kind of scenario. But at present, when students are at the campus, they are missing those things, which is bringing anxiety to them. So that's why I'm calling it as a false perception. So how to deal with this thing? Because they have already imagined a lot about college and for a long, long time. And now when it is breaking, they are not able to handle it.
No, I'm not getting it. You're talking about your college campus?
No, sir, in general.
In general, yes, what is happening?
In general, it is happening that everyone has seen Three Idiots. They built a perception of college life.
Okay.
That it would be great, it would be full of enthusiasm and a lot of activities, which when they reach campus, they are not able to find it.
But the campus is most definitely a fun place, is it not?
Yes.
It's just that the way the campus is actually an interesting place does not tally with the cinematic image of the campus that you have absorbed from movies like these.
Yes, sir.
You come to the campus thinking that the campus will be a place like the one shown in the movie. The campus is actually a very good place to be in, but not in the way the movie has portrayed. If you belong to a good campus, there are all kinds of sporting facilities. For self-development, there are dozens of avenues. You meet competent and competitive students, and that company brings out a lot of good things from within you. Equally, there is the discipline of the classroom, of the examinations, of the assessment system. And so you are kept on your toes, right? And plus, most students, in India at least, get to be away from their homes only when they enter an institution of higher learning, typically professional learning. So there is the newly found freedom, and you have mates of your age group, and you can mingle and you can travel. You cannot do that very frequently, obviously, but maybe once or twice a semester you can go out to some other city, and you can go to the hills. Or if you have graduated to the third or fourth year, there could be a bikers group or something. I'm not saying that you're going to do every week or every weekend, but those things do happen, and they are immensely enriching adventures. I mean, just the fact, where else will you get to enjoy so many sporting facilities almost free of cost later on after you graduate? If you want those same facilities, you will have to take a club membership, and that costs a fortune, especially to someone who has just started his professional career. And here you would be having a huge library, and that library has all kinds of sections, right? And so campus is most definitely a great place to spend 4 years or 6 years, even 8 years, if you are a medical student. Then there is also the thing that that you get to socialize with a very decent and filtered and, may I say, elite crowd. And when it comes to socializing in your age group, there is also the fact that there are boys, there are girls, and you meet each other for the first time. So there is that added dimension to the excitement. I do not see how somebody can get depressed after landing on the campus. What do you have? 14 hours of classes daily, or what? There is the movie club, there is the dance club, there is the dramatics club, and debating, and so much else, and college fests, and you can take leadership roles. There is so much opportunity for developing yourself. It beats me how all this can be depressing or frustrating to someone. Even the labs, you see, I understand there is the pressure of performance and marks, but the foundry or the sheet metal lab, they are exciting places as well, are they not?
Yes, sir, they are.
So, what makes someone depressed? I'm interested.
Sir, what I think it is all about the perception. They are not actually seeing the things which they are getting, but they are demanding for something more, which is practically not possible. Like a tree cannot have all the fruits.
What are they demanding?
They are demanding like completely out of stress. Like basically they don't want to study. The 3 idiots type, that no theoretical knowledge, only the practical knowledge, that kind of things.
Then you need to take admission in some kind of loafers club or something, Why come to an engineering college?
Yes, sir.
And I concur. If there are movies that equate engineering colleges with fun clubs, then this is what the result will be. An entire generation of youngsters will opt for engineering, thinking that the place will be simply a laughter club or chill out with the friends, hang out with girls, that kind of opportunity. And that's not going to materialize. And then there will be frustration. Engineering colleges, management colleges, all kinds of places, whether you're talking of professional education or education in humanities, they're all great places to be in. I think being in a college campus, especially as a hosteler, is the best part of your youth. It really builds you up. So we had the BRCA in IIT-Delhi, Board of Recreational and Cultural Activities. And our professor, when we were being oriented in the first semester itself, he said, you enter the BRCA as a child and you walk out as a man. That's what the campus does to you. It transforms, it metamorphizes the child into the man, the caterpillar into the butterfly. But obviously not in the way pop fiction or pop movies demonstrate, right? So one has to have some maturity to understand that fiction is fiction. Fiction does not even attempt to be loyal to the truth. Its primary allegiance is towards worldly success, the revenue it rakes in, the weekend collections. So let's not take all that too seriously.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if we don't have any more follow-up questions on this, we'll move on to the next question. Chehak, you can go ahead and ask a question. I
Yeah.
hope you are recording your audio. Please ensure that you are doing that.
Yes, I'm recording my audio.
Okay.
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. My name is Chehak Sarda. I'm a first-year student in electronical engineering at BITS Hyderabad. My question was, we often hear the notion that we should respect elders. But when it comes to the elders, for example, in my family, every family has some sort of problems. And I get to know some things about them. After that, I don't feel like I should respect them because those actions weren't right. So if I don't respect them, the society hates me and I get scolding for that. But if I do respect them, I feel bad. So shouldn't we respect behavior instead of just respecting elders? And is the notion that we should always respect elders correct?
What do you mean by respect, first thing?
Like talking politely, talking properly.
No,
Showing.
talking politely and talking properly is something you should anyway unconditionally do, right? Even if
Yeah.
you are talking to a crime convict, you do not want to be particularly impolite, do you?
No.
So politeness and propriety, these are not things that are first of all dependent upon something else. And secondly, these are not very intimately connected to respect. What is respect?
Respect is having a genuine appreciation inside me of that person. I feel, for example,
Valuing that person highly. Yeah.
valuing that person highly, but
So,
after knowing such things,
so
I don't
it's all right.
feel
It's
that
all
way.
right. If you clearly see that a fellow has very little that can be highly valued, there is no compulsion at all to accord a high importance or high value to him or her. There is no need at all. We need to probably widen or deepen the question a little. Before I assess or value somebody, do I first of all know for myself what is valuable? Because you see, you too are demonstrating your value system when you say that if you do not respect people, elders in particular, then you are frowned at or looked down upon. So you are valuing something here. What are you valuing? You are valuing acceptance. And you do not want to lose that acceptance. Hence, you are raising this question. Do you see what I'm saying? You're saying there are people who do not deserve your respect. So you do not demonstrate respect. When you do not demonstrate respect, then a lot of people do not look at you favorably. They think you are some kind of a rascal or renegade, and you do not like that. Hence this question. Now, you value the fact or the possibility that you need to be liked, accepted, and loved. And when that love or acceptance is withdrawn by the others because they think that you are being disrespectful to elders, you do not like it, right? So here it is a demonstration of your own value system. What does your value system say? It is valuable, it is important to be liked and accepted by others. Otherwise, if you are just being true to your own independent, honest assessment of people, then why do you need to worry about how the people will respond once you honestly demonstrate what you think of them? Are you getting it? Let's learn what is valuable in life. And behaviors containing basic etiquette or politeness, courtesy, they should not be dependent on what a person's worth is, irrespective of the worth of a person. Just by the dint of being a human being, everybody deserves some consideration, basic politeness. So that, I suppose, you could grant unconditionally. But when it comes to other things in life, you must have a very, very solid standard of values. Solid and universal, in the sense that there should be no doublespeak, no hypocrisy. The same yardstick you use to measure your own worth must be applied to others as well. You cannot hold yourself in high esteem and look down on others if you and the others are fundamentally the same. What is worth valuing in life? Be it an elder, a younger one, a professor, a peon, doesn't matter. What is it that you want to value in life? From what you have said, from your rebellious expression, there is one great thing I could gather. First of all, age is not the fundamental determinant of value. You cannot say somebody has age on his side, her side, therefore he deserves to be valued. It's not so arithmetical. Otherwise, at the age of 20, you just need to wait to let your age multiply, and the day you become 60, you are already thrice as respectable. So that sounds foolish, right? So age cannot be a determinant. What else can be used to determine the worth of a person?
It's usually the behavior, their actions, how they interact with people, how they go about their life.
Can we get deeper into that?
For example, if there is a 20-year-old person who works in NGOs, who does a lot for society, who has a really positive way of talking to everybody and is polite to me, I would respect him a lot. And
But
on the other hand,
may I just?
Yeah.
But we just said that politeness is something we must anyway unconditionally extend to everybody, right? So politeness really cannot be a strong determinant. What can be a clear determinant or a set of determinants? How do we know somebody is actually respectable?
If he's kind, and I think basic kindness.
Kindness, huh?
Yeah.
So that's a good one. Nice. See, the moment you start going deeper into it, right, you will fumble and struggle a little. So that's all right. In fact, that's a good indicator that now you are probing something new. When you probe something new, then you cannot come up with quick ready-made answers, right? So you will struggle a little, and that is great, right? So you said kindness. Kindness is a great thing, right? Some people also call it compassion. Wonderful. So you respect someone according to her depth of compassion, and you look for that. And that is not always visible in behavioral patterns of the kind we are used to. Because you have used the term behavior 3 or 4 times, hence I'm emphasizing. Compassion is something subtle. It sits in the heart. Behavior can be manipulated. You can design your behavior to make it look respectable, to make it look kind. But behavior that exudes a figure, a semblance of kindness, need not actually be arising from a point of kindness. But we all know what kindness looks like. Therefore, it is easy to put on behavior that looks like kindness. So you are on the money when you say that kindness is valuable, but you must also strive to know what real kindness is. And kindness is not always of the face that you see in the movies or in fiction or in general culture. In general, how do you spot a kind person?
For example, there's a dog on the road and he's hurt, so somebody is giving him biscuits, or taking him to the hospital if he's sick, or helping people around them.
Right, great. So let's extend this example. So this fellow picks up the dog, takes him to the example, and the doctor says the dog is weak.
Yeah.
The doctor is weak, the dog is weak. So this fellow goes and gets fresh chicken to feed the dog. Now, what happened to your example?
Yeah. I understood how, like, understanding how a person is kind or not is a very broad thing. It's not that easy to judge a person.
Right? So
Yeah.
behavior can be deceptive.
Yeah.
Patterns can be put on. We as intelligent beings must take care not to be deceived by patterns and behaviors and such superficial things. Right? So kindness is one thing. What else do you think is valuable in life?
I'm struggling to find something right now.
But then you are very eager to take away respect from people, huh? Without knowing what is respectable.
What the context that I had behind the question was, for example, there's a person in my family who abused me as a child, and now due to society.
Now, may I please? So now here you already know what is not respectable.
Yeah.
What is not respectable?
Like abusing someone and hitting someone.
Broaden that, being exploitative.
Yeah.
So you have someone in front of you who is not strong enough or developed enough to resist your gruesome advances, and you're taking advantage of the kid's position. Need not necessarily be a kid. Could be an animal, could be a grown-up, could be a 90-year-old disabled woman, no, and doesn't want to take care of her, rather is seeking part of her, let's say, property. It's much the same thing, no? Being exploitative. So being exploitative is not good. If someone is exploitative, we have no obligation to value that person highly. This is called having inner clarity. Otherwise, we all have just a haze of feelings. So we roughly know, we vaguely know, but there is no clarity. So now you have some clarity on that. If somebody is exploitative, I will not respect him, irrespective of his designation, age, relationship to me, whatever. Equally, if being exploitative is so disrespectful, what is it that deserves respect? What is the opposite of being exploitative?
Helping.
Being generous.
Being generous, being
large-hearted, being magnanimous. If I see someone of that kind, then I'll offer my unconditional respect. But the thing is tricky. Seeing kindness, I'm repeating, is not always simple, because kindness will not always take the forms we are used to. Equally, exploitation will not always take the forms we are used to. The form that you are referring to is very obvious, very gross. A kid being exploited by an elder. Here it is obvious what is happening. But then there are far more numerous and subtler, very hidden ways of being exploitative. And we don't even detect exploitation taking place. And so we continue to offer respect. No? So to determine who is respectable, what is respectable, one needs to be attentive to life. Otherwise, your respect and disrespect will all come from a nebulous point within, a vague kind of feeling. You'll just feel this person is not good. And you'll say, oh, this is my intuition or my instinct, but that's no good. You need to have clarity, not intuition or instinct. Intuitions and instincts are for animals. They have nothing but instincts. As human beings, we need intelligence, not instincts. So you need to think about these things. Before we close, maybe a couple of more examples of things or traits that are respect-worthy.
Some people who distribute stuff among like young kids, and the people who work in Anganwadis, the people who like sponsor education for children who are not able to do that on their own, and people who help others with people with
Yes, you are very nicely covering that dimension, the dimension of kindness.
Yeah.
Can we move a little to the other dimensions as well?
I can't think of something.
So you have a batchmate who has come from a very remote and ill-served part of the country, from a disadvantaged section of the society. And he could still somehow clear the entrance exam and make it to your place, your campus. And then there is someone who is coming from a metro city, from a good, affluent, upper middle class family, had the benefits of all kinds of training and coaching and good food and vehicles and whatnot. You see what I am going towards?
The difference between their lifestyle.
Yes. So what really is respectable? That's what I want to come to.
I'm a bit confused right now.
The heart to strive against odds, for obviously a just cause, that is respectable. Not so much one's place in life, but the odds one conquered to come to that place. Are you getting? Typically, students who come from these far-flung places do not belong very well to the campus. They remain on the margins, right? Because their culture is different. They do not get that much of acceptability and respect. Whereas if you think clearly, those are the ones who deserve greater respect. Because fighting against challenges is something we must value. Do you agree?
Yes, I definitely agree on that.
Someone who gets things easily in life is all right. We have no grudges. But someone who fought his way against difficult odds to achieve something worthwhile is surely someone who deserves a salute. So have an eye for that. And often it also happens that such students, at least initially, do not perform very well in the campus. So if you just look at their performance, they'll probably belong to the middle rungs or even to the lower strata of grades. But one of them, having a CGPA of 6 or 6.5, is probably doing better than a Delhiite or a Mumbaikar having a CGPA of 8 or 9. How does it work in your campus? Is it CGPA percentage?
It's CGPA.
CGPA on a scale of 10. Okay. So where you are is not always a very definite indicator. Just as we said that your behavior itself is not a very definite indicator. Similarly, your place too is not a very definite indicator. You have to see where the thing is coming from, be it the behavior or the person. Where is the person coming from? Now, coming from a point like that, if that person could perform this way, then I value this, I respect this. Right? Then there is a word called conviction. Being true to oneself. Being true to oneself. There's hardly anybody who does not know anything about life. Or there is hardly anybody who is totally wrong in his or her view of life. None of us are totally right either. But at least some measure of goodness we all have. The idea of goodness, that is. We know what goodness is like. And still we fail to live up to our own concept of goodness. We know what is right, we know what is valuable. And yet we do not act as per our own standards. Right? So conviction, which is very intimate to integrity, is something very, very valuable. Is this person living up to herself? We are not talking of standards set by others. We are talking of your own inner standards. Are you true to yourself? If you do not know a thing, it's probably all right. You're ignorant. But the problem with most people is not so much in their ignorance. It lies in their lack of integrity, hypocrisy. You know, and yet you do not live that way. So have an eye for that. See who is living his life as per his truth. I'm not talking of the absolute truth here. I'm talking of your own truth. There is nobody who has no concept, no personal concept of the truth. That personal concept is often flawed, I agree, but it does exist. It does exist and is very useful. It is useful because it helps you move beyond itself, but only if you first of all live up to your concept of truth. Most people do not do that. See that. See that, and when you find it somewhere, do not hold yourself back. Right? Then there is a thing called depth of love, which is sincerity. Right? Being attracted towards something, somebody, some ideal, anything is one thing, and remaining true to it over long periods against challenges is another thing. Now, can you spot that and respect that?
Definitely.
Then there is, yes, wonderful. Then there is courage. Even if you know what is the right thing to do, there is always a price to pay. And most people just do not have the integrity to pay the price, the audacity to give up on their established and comfortable patterns of life. And where you find someone heartfully paying the price, respect that. It's no mean thing. It requires a lot, and very few people live up to their love, right? So these are the things, rather some of the things that are valuable. And wherever you find these, it's time to bow down, to get close, and to learn. Of what use is respect if it just involves token behavior? You go to someone and say, oh, I respect you so much, and you fold your hands, or you offer obeisance, does not mean much. The moment you say you respect something or somebody, it is then incumbent on you to first of all get close. If something is worthy enough, why are you still distant? Get close and learn. Get close to rise. If something is respectable, it is higher than you. If it is higher than you, use that thing to get higher. Right? Anything more you want to add to it?
No, this actually gave me a lot of clarity. Like my concept of respect was quite short and it broadened. So
I'm glad.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Will actually please ensure that you're recording your audio? Then you can ask.
Yeah, sure.
Anupam, give me a minute's break, please.
Ji, Acharya, definitely. I just saw someone raising their hands and their video was not on. So unless your video is on, I can't spotlight you. So please note that if you're planning to raise your hand for follow-up, please ensure that you have switched on your video first. Abhilashji, you can come back on video and ask your question now.
Madam Acharya,
Ji.
a follow-up question on that. Generally, respect is not like a one label on a person, right? It's more of a phased manner. Like we might see his actions are respectable at some times, and we might also see that at other times the actions are not respectable. You also spoke about unconditional politeness. I would like to understand that a bit more. So, especially in the family circumstances, in the relatives and all, right? I have seen elder people, all ages, without any age bar and all. I have seen they are not courageous to take certain steps. They are not very conviction on their own truth, as you mentioned. I see that they respect certain things, but they don't stand for it. They do not pay the needed.
Abhilashi, we lost.
Abhilashji, you lost.
Am I audible?
Please repeat the last couple of sentences.
Am I audible now?
You are audible now. The loudness is lost.
Okay. Is it clear now, sir?
The loudness is.
Am I not still loud?
I think Abhilash ji, you can just speak a little loudly, then
Yeah.
it will be-
Okay. Okay. So Acharya, I was asking like,
You probably need to hold the mic closer to the mouth, Abhilash. It was perfectly all right when you began.
is it clear now?
All right, please proceed.
Okay. I wanted to know like, when I see people who are not able to, stand on their own conviction, and they are kind at one place, but they are, in like they do donations, but they kill animals. They donate to orphanages, but they don't take care of old people. When I see all this, right, it becomes very difficult to be polite to them. Uh, so I would like to understand how this unconditional politeness comes when we see someone is not worth respecting.
No, I just said unconditional. I didn't say infinite. Unconditional but finite. I would be the last person to talk of infinite politeness. Huh? Why do you want to put that kind of blame on me? Acharya Prashant talking of politeness. That's very sensational, isn't it?
Just trying to get the clarity so that I didn't miss what you're about to say.
No. I'm talking of basic courtesy. Even if you have to strongly put a point across, one need not degrade his manners or language beyond a point. No, I'm not talking of prostrating and kissing somebody's feet, or not raising one's voice, even if that is actually needed. So I'm not talking of that. I was just trying to communicate that basic decency must at least be the point one begins from. Aesthetics must not be compromised with beyond a point, right? And even if that compromise has to be made, there has to be a strong enough reason. And that must be after a due period of tolerance and giving the benefit of doubt. Even if I have clearly seen that you are coming from a disrespectable point, a point that just cannot be accepted, still I cannot begin the conversation by shouting at you, right? So I said unconditional but not infinite. Their limits have to be there, right? I do not want us to label people as unworthy or not respectable, and therefore give ourselves a free hand to indulge in unseemly behavior. That was my point. You just label someone as unworthy, and then all the time you allow yourself to shout or demean, and that's not right. That's not right, right? A certain tolerance has to be there. Even if you do see quite clearly that the fellow is coming from an improper place, still, to begin with, give the person some benefit of doubt. Maybe our assessment is flawed, who knows? So after keeping all those allowances, then one should decide whether change in behavior is needed, right? There is a danger, Blaji, in all this. We do not want to become what we call as holier than thou. That sanctimonious attitude that a lot of so-called spiritual people carry. I am the holy one. I am the one with piety, with piousness, and you are an insect of hell. So my default mode is to look down upon everybody, all and sundry. I am the holy soul and the entire world is a sinner. So I arrogate myself the right to shout, to demean, sometimes to even hit. Don't we know history? Don't we know what kinds of crimes have been committed in the name of holiness and rightness, in the name of defending virtue and property? People have become exploitative and we lose all touch with reality. We do not even realize that it's just the ego talking loud through our piousness. So that was all that I wanted to communicate. That was all.
And the another one I generally respect is the person's readiness to learn.
Wonderful, wonderful. Humility.
As you said, when especially when I see elders, right, they would have sealed themselves so much that they wouldn't want to even question their their philosophy of life, or at least sit and discuss about it, or have such conversation. So when such things are seen, right, it becomes very difficult to even converse with them, and it becomes very difficult to relate with them.
Fully agree. Maybe had the conversation been a bit longer with the friend we had, we could have added this one to the list and given it a high position. Humility and the availability to learn, the receptiveness to change. Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, of course. I think this is an exercise. Every sentient person must do for himself. Sit down and make a list of what you think is worthy in life. That reminds me of my teenage years. This question used to reverberate. What is important? And I just couldn't get over it. This question was constantly there in my mind. What is important? What can we call as important? That I now realize was the beginning of the formation of an independent value system. I wanted to inquire what is valuable. I think that's something that would help all of us. That's an exercise grown-ups must do. That's a chapter that must be there in school books, in college books. What is important? And let each person figure out for himself, for herself, what is important. At least let there be clarity. That list is anyway open to amendment. You can add to the list later on, you can strike out a few things, but at least write down so that you know for yourself what is it you are living by. Thank you.
Ritik, you are next. Please switch on your video. Please go ahead and ask your question. Please ensure that you are recording your audio. Okay.
Not audible.
Ritik, you're not audible. Okay, Ritik, I think we'll take up the next question now for the time being till you can sort out your audio issues.
Hello. Am I audible right now?
Yes, Ritik, you can go ahead now.
Hello, sir. My name is Ritik Chabda.
Hello, Ritik.
I'm a second year student from economics department. So I have a question like these days relationships have become very casual. Like people meet, they come in a relationship and then they break up in a week or more or less. Even in friendship, we find people that once the people who were friends once, they don't even talk to each other then. What is the reason for all this? Like why is it happening?
See, in the language of spirituality, it is said that only the truth is timeless. Only the truth is something time cannot destroy. Have I already answered?
Okay.
Hmm?
But sir, like for even for the short time, for once we feel that we are emotionally connected.
The degree of falseness of the relationship is inversely proportional to the duration of the relationship. The more false the relationship is, the shorter obviously it is going to be. And that you could correlate to the short attention spans we have these days. Not that the attention spans have become shorter. The thing you are attending to has become more and more false. And because it is so false, it is impossible for you to attend to it for a long time. Only the truth is beautiful, and it can completely enchant you, mesmerize you, and make you stick to itself. You become helpless and you cannot let go of the truth. And therefore the relationship becomes long, durable, if not timeless, at least sustainable. But when you are relating to or concentrating on something utterly worthless, or coming to even a worthy thing from a worthless point within yourself, then the relationship cannot last. And that's why we have such short-lived friendships and love affairs these days. The ground itself was very shaky. How long can the building last? Why do you relate to someone? Or why do people relate to someone? Because you think you will get something. As simple as that, right? If you get what you want, you are done, the relationship is exhausted. After you have sucked all that you could from a mango fruit, do you still keep carrying that large seed? Gutli? The juice has been exploited, right? What remains is just the peel and the hard, useless thing within. Throw it away. And that's how we throw people away from our lives after having taken away whatever juice was there. This is if there was any juice at all. Often you will pick up some stone or sand and expect some juice in it, and there is no juice, obviously. So what do? You dump. So either way, the thing cannot last. If you got what you wanted, then the thing is of no use anymore. If you didn't get what you wanted, the thing is again of no use. So dump and move on. When does a relationship remain sustainable? Relationship remains sustainable when there is beauty in it for you every moment, beauty that is inexhaustible, beauty that is not available to consumption, beauty that time cannot erode. If there is beauty of the kind that you can happily eat away, then the beauty will be eaten away, full stop. Are you getting it? You go to a snacks bar. How long can you stay there? Will you build your home there? There is the hot dog. The hot dog is quite tempting. You take the hot dog and then you walk out. And that's how you walk out of a relationship. The hot dog has been ingested. The hot dog is in the stomach now. What will you do standing there anymore? Now, you can return some other day for some other hot dog or burger maybe this time. When the entire philosophy of life is centered on consumption, I exist to feed and fatten myself. And by doing that, I'll be happy. Then what will you remain with some human being for? If you are with anything and everything just for the sake of fattening yourself, consuming, which is exploitation in a way, then even with human beings, you will remain only to consume them. Right? And we get bored because other things are available to be consumed. How long can you feast on hot dogs alone? There are so many other delicacies, you know. And some hot dogs are sticky. They don't want to let you go. And then you disappear like a ghost. That's the word these days, ghosting, no? You block them from your social media, you block their number as well. And then you are never to be seen.
So, what can be done to improve the situation?
No, the situation cannot be improved in that segment alone. You cannot remain the person you are and yet be very good with your girlfriend. Not possible. As long as you are the one you are, you and your affairs and your relationships will remain as they are right now. The entire worldview has to change. And before the worldview, your understanding of yourself has to change. Rather, some understanding has to emerge in the first place. We have no understanding to begin with, zero. We do not even value that kind of understanding. For something to come to you, first of all, you must realize its worth. No? What's the point in self-knowledge? What's the point in knowing who I am and what I want? No point. And from that position of no point runs our entire life. No point. Do you have a center? No point. No point is my center. I'm centerless. When you're centerless, then yeah, like a rolling stone, you can be found anywhere. It has no center. See, I'm not advocating an arranged marriage-like situation. I'm not saying that you make friends in class 3 and spend your entire life only with them. No, that's not the intent. I'm talking of the mind that looks at human beings, animals, the entire existence as means to ingratiate itself. I look at the laptop screen, I look at this equipment, I look at the human beings, I look at the animals out there, and my entire intention is how do I please myself using them? I'm talking of this mind. This mind is a curse to itself and the entire world. Are you getting it? I'm not talking of remaining loyal. I'm not talking of those hackneyed concepts of fidelity and such things. I'm talking of having an eye for the truth. I'm talking of love, real love. And that's not going to be available to you if you have that kind of a rotten view of life. I know I'm talking of a lot of things and it would be all over the place to you. You wouldn't be able to make much sense of it. So I know that you would be a bit taken aback. What's going on? But you'll have the recording, right? So if you feel like, go over it a few times, and if not today, maybe a few months down the line, it will make some sense to you. You cannot have good things in life without firstly being good yourself. Obviously. You're not good. How can you have good relationships? Need I clarify? I'm not talking about you in person. I'm talking about everybody.
So what perception should we have in mind? Like, what?
Do not
should be
go
the
to
case?
the other. Do not go to the other to begin with. At least to consume and exploit. Try to have a certain self-sufficiency. Do not be dependent on the other in sense of the other being seen as your fuel or food. If you visualize a snake with a rabbit, a large snake, do you see how the snake coils itself around the rabbit? It's in some sense a very intimate embrace. No? And in that particular sense, when the lion is tearing the deer apart and gorging its innards into its own stomach, it is deep intimacy, is it not? I love you so much, I have made you a part of my body. There was separation a while back. Now there is no separation. Now we are one. Your body is not only close to my body, your body is now my body. See how much I love you. In lovemaking, I suppose that's one of the phrases we use these days. Huh? Eat me. It's not just coincidental. It's lion and deer. Don't you say, I love chicken? When you say you love something, it means the thing is gone. You will eat it up. I love chicken. How can the relationship last? The chicken won't last. The moment you love something, it's gone. The relationship cannot last.
I think, sir, I have enough clarity about it. Right?
No, I'll be surprised if I have been of much use to you. Still, this is what needed to be said at this moment. I'm sure I have seeded something. And the seed will sprout.
Yes, I can think like from a different perception now.
Thank you.
Bhushan, please ensure that you are audio recording your question, and then
Yes,
you can
sir.
ask your question.
So, good afternoon, sir. I am Bhushan, and I am studying in first year BTech. So my question was, in one of the recent videos, you talked about like that spirituality needs power. Like we will have to provide power to spirituality. So I wanted to ask, what does that power mean? Is it that we will have to means put in money to promote spirituality? And the second question in connection with this only is like the foundation has also started the Ghar Ghar Upanishad initiative, where they are distributing the free copies of Sarvasar Upanishad book. So what effect does this book have on people's minds?
What is power? Power is the ability to cause quick change. Quick.
Hello, sir. My name is Ritik Chhabda. I am a second year student from economics. Hello.
Even in physics, that's the way you define power, no? So change is needed, and is needed real quick. That's why we need power. Don't you see we need change? And don't you see we don't have time? In that context, I have said I need power.
So, sir, in
And
power, does it only mean
you're not
money?
audible.
So, sir, does power only mean money and fame, or means
Anything
the
that can bring about change. And different people have different movers. The same handle does not work on everybody. So whatsoever it is that moves a person must be used to move. We don't have time. So you talked of money. Did you say money?
Yes, sir.
So money, obviously money is very important. Don't you see, money makes the whole thing move. It's just that usually money makes the whole thing move in just the wrong direction. But if there are people who are habituated to being moved only by money, there is no option but to use money to move them. All your life, it is just fear that has moved you, fear and greed. And greed means money, one of the things.
Yes, sir.
So you're habituated to having just one driver, fear and greed. No other driver works on you. I may come and utter the absolute truth to you. Presumably, it won't matter to you because you're not even available. You're not listening. You have hardly any faculty left for the truth. But the moment I make money talk, you will listen. And that's the reason why even a spiritual initiative requires lots of funds. Otherwise, merely the words would have sufficed. All I needed to do was have a website and put my things there and wake up next morning to find the world changed. Does it work that way? In fact, I need not even put my things on a website. There is already tremendously rich spiritual literature available. People before me have done a far better job than I ever will manage. Why have they not succeeded in preventing the world from coming to the place where it is? Is the Bhagavad Gita inaccessible? Is a copy of the Bhagavad Gita too expensive? Are the Upanishads secret documents? Why have the people not read them? Because there is a perception that reading them does not yield power. What will I get if I read the Bhagavad Gita? Why should I encourage my teenager to read the Gita? I would rather enroll him in an animation course or software course. That's what would empower him, no? Empower him. Equally, the Bhagavad Gita is not coming to you from a point of power. In the sense, it is not a part of, let's say, the school and college curricula. Else you would have studied it, because you would then know that it has the backing of power. If you don't read it, you won't get the school certificate. If you don't get the school certificate, you will probably starve. Are you getting it? Even to bring the Gita to people, one requires power. Remember the very setting in which the Gita was revealed. There are people with bows and arrows and maces and chariots and horses and swords and huge armies lined up. What does this setting exude? A sense of spiritual tranquility or a clash of powers? Yes?
It is a clash of powers.
Clash of powers. Krishna's teaching to Arjun would have not sufficed had Arjun not had an army Without the bow and the arrow, Arjun is probably not even a deserving recipient of the Gita. Krishna is telling Arjun, fight. For that, Arjun must have the Gita and Arjun must have the Gandiv. What will the Gita do without the Gandiv? Gandiv is Arjun's bow. Would have become very irrelevant, no? Krishna is telling Arjun, fight, and Arjun has no army. Arjun has no weapons. How is Arjun going to fight? The Gita will still be tremendously beautiful, but powerless and therefore not useful. You're fidgeting a lot.
Yes, sir.
Something about it?
So, sir, so my question is like, will only money, means to get the resources, we will need money. So will we need only money or something else?
Not just money. We said different people, different drivers.
Okay.
People care, for example, for great articulation. Therefore, I have to speak properly.
Okay.
People do care for knowledge. Therefore, I have to come from a place of knowledge. I need to demonstrate that what I'm saying is not fictitious, imaginary, that it corroborates with the fact on the ground. So what is it, whatever it is that appeals to people has to be used in service of the truth.
Yes, sir. So if we take example of money, like many people are influenced due to money, like the power of money. So like to get this much money, like means even for the sake of truth, if you want to get the money to get the resources, so like means will we have to find ways to earn money which are not exploitative, like because in today's world to earn money we will have to we have to exploit people.
Exactly. That's the challenge. To have money and to have money through the right means. You see, an arrow is an arrow. It can be shot either way. It can come from Krishna. Equally, there were arrows shot at Krishna. Do you understand? The charioteer was a legitimate target in war. It was not considered improper to kill the charioteer. So from the Kaurav army, I'm pretty sure there was a lot that was hurled at Krishna to obliterate him. It was well known that Krishna is Arjun's backbone and his heart. Without Krishna, the Pandav army won't stand. What are you using your arrow for? Money is a resource. What are you using it for? Mostly we find it today being used for just the wrong purposes. You talked of the Upanishad initiative.
Yes, sir.
Yes, obviously we want to send the Upanishad to 20 crore families in India and then abroad. But at the going rate, we won't reach anywhere near that number even in 10,000 years. It requires copious funds. How do I bring the Upanishads to people? Maybe 20 crore is just too big a number. Maybe we need to find smarter ways. Yes, obviously we need to find smarter ways. Just as money is a resource, intelligence too is a resource. Use it in the service of truth.
So, sir, like, will we have to devise new ways to get that much bulk money? Because in today's world, as per the framework which is been made today, to earn money, we will have to somehow exploit people. Like, it's not any bulk.
That's not necessary. Please. That's not at all necessary. That money can come only through exploitation. That's not true. In fact, that's a very dangerous idea. Check it out. Because if you take this idea, then you have already sold yourself off to all the wrongdoers. A very, very cynical idea. That if you are to succeed in life, you must turn one of them. No, don't turn one of them. You can succeed in life. You can live a beautiful and admirable life even without belonging to them. You won't starve if you lead a right life, let me assure you. And that's an understatement. You can prosper. Maybe you won't have billions for yourself, but then the right life anyway does not involve spending billions on yourself.
Sir, I was asking, like, even if we need money to for distributing the Upanishads. So I'm not telling for myself, like, I will enjoy and I will get money and enjoy them. But to even distribute the Upanishads, we will need bulk money. So we will need to find some new ways to
yes, that's what.
That money.
Yes, that's what. That's where work and application of intelligence is needed. How to take this thing to every home, to every individual. And remember, not everything needs to happen in a centralized way. The work is important. The worker is not. Maybe we need to inspire 1,000 other agencies and nodes and individuals and organizations to take this up. Maybe it is too difficult if only one particular agency is doing it. What if there are 10,000 agencies? What if the government picks it up? Yes. We do not know how the future will unfold. What we know is that this thing needs to be done. Flowing water will find its own course. First of all, the glacier has to melt. That's a bad example to give in the age of climate change. Very, very bad example.
So, sir, to get that much like resources, we will need like very intelligent people, and we will need to use
lots of intelligent
talent.
people to come and dedicate themselves to the right cause. Obviously. In fact, more than money, I require intelligent people to be here. The best of the minds, the cream of the world, should be devoting itself to the right cause. What else is it the cream for? You say you are the best. You say you belong to the top 1 percentile. What for? To sell fizzy water? To sell shoes? To sell bonds and debentures and insurance policies? That's what your gifted intelligence is for. What are your brains for? So that you can earn money for some MNC. I said for the MNC, not for yourself. Your own package is very small compared to what you bring to the MNC. Dedicate your gift to the right cause. No?
Yes, sir.
When I say gift, I'm talking of the thing you are gifted with. Your brains, your IQ.
So, sir, we will have to use the same technology which the people mostly used to exploit. We will have to use the same technology too.
Yes, judiciously, discreetly. Obviously, when we are distributing the Upanishads, it's not something that has a huge carbon footprint, for example. And if it has a carbon footprint, I would like to learn, and we'll modify the process. So why will we use technologies that pollute or exploit or whatever? Why will we do that? It's a simple thing.
Yes, sir, that made my point clear about power.
Thank you. I hope this will keep you thinking. Huh? I hope this is leaving you with more questions.
Yes, sir,
than
definitely.
answers.
The thought process has already started now.
Great, great,
Okay, sir, thanks.
wonderful.
Devansh, please ensure that you are recording your question, audio recording, and then you can ask.
Yes, sir, it is on. Sir, I have a follow-up to Ritik Bhaiya's question, which was the question previous to this question. You said that people rely on others to fuel themselves. They see others as fueling them. And I have seen a lot of times that sometimes a person tries to build up a relationship, be it a friendship or anything, and when they don't get the equal response from the other side, they start to blame the other person. So what I always like say to my friends who suffer this thing is that it's all about priorities. You have prioritized one person, but that doesn't mean that he or she will prioritize you to the same level. So you just need to be like, go with the flow. You just need to stick with your work. If the other person also does prioritize you, then
What
it's
do you mean
okay.
Wait. These are very hazy terms, very hazy terms. You said we do not get response from the other person. What do you mean by response?
Response means a lot of times if some person tries to make a friendship with others, then their intention is to be a little bit casual, but the other person is not comfortable at the moment. Because everyone is not the same. I might be open
What do you
to
mean by friendship?
everyone.
What do you mean by friendship? And why do you want to be friends with someone? You look at someone and then you say, I want to be friends. Why?
No, that's the, like, for example, if I see anyone who is actively participating in group discussions and other things, and I find that he or she might benefit me in the coming years, be it in the college life or anything else, then I would try to be friend with him or her.
What do you mean by being friends? I want some clarity on that.
Okay, being friends means that that person, and like there is a stronger bond than just being a class.
What do you mean by stronger bond?
Stronger bond means that that person is always ready to help me in whenever I need help from him or her.
So that's what is called exploitation.
No, what I personally think. Because
I mean, an example that comes to my mind is the urinal. Always there for you.
but exploitation, sir, won't it be exploitation if I am just there only to use that person? If I am also there to contribute.
You'll use and clean.
What if I also contribute?
What if the fellow does not want your contribution? You will impose the contribution.
No, sir.
So what do you want then? Why is the other even in your mind? No, I am sending out feelers. The fellow is not responding. He is high on my priority list. I am not high on her priority list. What is this priority list? Priority of what? What is this priority? Prior means before. Prior means higher.
Yes,
higher
sir.
than what?
Higher than others, maybe.
Huh?
Because I personally don't experience this thing, so I'm not.
Others in what sense?
Well, I have to ask my friends about it. I don't have much knowledge.
Then why do you give this question so much priority if you have to ask your friends about it?
No, not priority. I was just what I explained to them is that just don't think too much about it. Like what you said,
What's your name, son?
Devansh.
Devansh, it is all about sex.
What if it's for a boy and boy?
Then it's again about sex. Sex is not just about penetrating the other's organs. Seeking things for your physical self is sexual activity. That's how sex is broadly defined in psychology. That's what Freud or Jung would call as the sexual motive. All that you want is stuff to further your physical self. Now that may or may not involve vaginal penetration. That may even mean you are getting things to, keep your body happy in other ways.
It's all about physical satisfaction.
Nothing more than that. Great.
Got it, sir. Thanks a lot.
Wonderful.
Bhaskar, please unmute yourself. Switch on your audio recording and then you can ask your question.
Yes, sir. Just a second. Yes. Good evening, Acharya ji. My name is Bhaskar, and I'm a freshman in the Department of Mathematics at Pilani, Hyderabad. So my question is regarding the coaching institutes. I'll just elaborate it a bit. In recent years, coaching for competitive exams has certainly become more popular, and students are enrolled in it from a very young age, like from 6th or 7th grade. So this has happened in my family as well. Some of my cousins, the parents are forcing them to get into coaching at a tender age in these grades, 6th and 7th. So my question regarding to this topic is this added pressure necessary and justified on these young kids? We don't know for a fact that they will take science in +2, they might go for arts, they might go for economics. And the way these coaching institutes with these pressures, their workouts are hampering their childhood and all the curricular activities that they may participate into.
What do I say? It's so obviously foolish that to bring out its foolishness is absurd. You can reveal something that's hidden. Something that's so obviously apparent. What do I say about it?
Actually, I had a follow-up question on this as well. How do I convince their parents to not do it? Like,
Depends on whether the parents have any love at all. If the kid is being used just as cannon fodder to target the parents' ambitions, how will you convince the parents? I do not know whether that is possible. I can just empathize with the kid. Too bad he was born. Too bad she was born to such parents. The society, the law, they all declare the child the de facto property of the parents, at least till age 18. No, how do you interfere? The kid is 12 years of age, class 7th, you said. There is no way any power in the world can do much about this situation, because there is no obvious violation of the kid happening. The violation is definitely there, but it is subtle. Had the kid been physically assaulted or something of that kind, there would have been some tangible evidence and some action could have been taken. What do you do in such a situation where there is constant, unrelenting violence on the kid by such ignorant parents? The travesty is you become parents far, far before you have any mental maturity. Mental maturity is something most people do not have even till their last breath. But physical maturity comes so early. I was looking at the rabbits. You know, by the time they are few months of age, they are ready to reproduce. It hits you there. Oh, just a few months old and it's ready to reproduce. But the same thing happens with humans. 18 years of age, 20, 25, 13 or 14, you're ready to reproduce. And you have no sense of the world, no wisdom, no maturity at all. And you have brought a baby to this world and you have become its custodian, its guardian, its God. Now, what else will you do? You could never make it to an engineering college. Now you want the kid to learn coding right from age 6. You never had the guts to speak straight even to your grandfather. So now you have put the kid in some public speaking class. This is the most wronged community. A community most deeply exploited. The community of children. And we don't talk of this continuous Holocaust. It isn't an event in history. It is a continuity so directly present, it becomes inconspicuous. You fail to see it exactly because it is everywhere.
Yes, I do understand that I might not be able to make a huge change in his life. But can you just give me some things that I can put forward to them? Because it is happening in my family and I cannot be a
We
mute
doing that
spectator.
already. You see, it has to be addressed by addressing the most fundamental questions of life. For example, when I'm speaking on the importance of work or on the importance of relationships, love, or even on the topic of, let's say, nationalism, patriotism, in some way, I am enabling the parent to take better decisions for the kids, because it's lack of wisdom that makes parents act so foolishly with regards to their kids. So wisdom from any source, in any context, is going to be useful. Parents need to be torn away from their usual preoccupations. Even an hour daily to wisdom literature or to wise company would help them raise the kid in a much better way. Otherwise, the kid is just like animals being transported to the slaughter factory. Parents need to be trained in spirituality. If you want me to be blunt, this is the solution. This alone is the solution. Had we been a conscious society, only very spiritual people would have had the right to reproduce. Because undeserved reproduction is a crime against the one you have given birth to. If killing someone is a crime, I call it a deeper crime to unconsciously give birth. When you kill someone, you're punished because it is an act in deep unconsciousness, right? But then reproduction too happens in deep unconsciousness. Why must people not be punished for having babies? It is a tremendously important thing to be a parent. It cannot be taken casually. If a person has some love, he or she will ask himself 1,000 times, am I ready to be a parent? And if I'm going to be a parent, am I putting enough time, energy, attention into the process of preparation?
Yes.
Even after the kid has come, do I realize the gravity of my responsibility? Because the kid does not get grown up in a day. It takes almost 2 decades before you can call a human being a grown-up thing. So the parent's education has to be continuous. Is the parent up to it? Or is he using the kid just as a plaything, a toy, a product of a casual moment?
Something to show off to others, like my kid has done this.
Of an ornament, a necklace, a new ring, a new pair of shoes.
To understand now.
Begin by talking.
Yes.
Initiate a discussion. Depth of any kind is good. Let them think deeply over these things. Let them think deeply about anything. It's not that they are being violent or ignorant only towards their kids. They are violent and ignorant towards everything in the world. So let the discussion start from anywhere. It would be useful.
Yes, okay, now I do. I'll just show them the recording as well of this session and the exact question I asked. I do think that will be a bit more useful. Thank you.
I'm not very sure whether this is the right thing to begin with. My words are usually too much for a beginner. They will react. And that reaction will further inhibit them from learning. So you need to probably begin on your own. At some point, when you perceive a ripeness, then maybe you can introduce me to them. Initially, when most people come in contact with me, their first reaction is of rejection or anger. They recoil. The ego is bound to recoil when it is hit right on the face. All right.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Shaq, please ensure that you're recording your question and then you can ask.
Yeah, just a second. My question was, we're often told that we should learn from our mistakes, that we should retrospect and we should be aware about our mistakes. But sometimes when I look back to look at the mistakes that I have done, I often find myself going into a sinkhole. Instead of taking it positively, I take it negatively. So how should I positively learn from them instead of just spiraling down in it?
So you committed a mistake. What happens when you look at that episode? I'm not audible.
Yeah. For example, I failed in a test, and when I look back upon it, I just feel ki I won't be able to do it. Instead of getting motivation from it, sometimes, for example, there was a test and I worked really hard for it. I worked for 15 days and I still wasn't able to succeed. So when I look back upon it, sometimes instead of looking at the mistakes, I often find myself thinking, ki I won't be able to do this. Instead of getting motivated by it, I often
Your
find myself.
confusion is not misplaced. If you repeat what you did the last time, you will fail again the next time. So your conclusion is just all right. You look at the previous attempt and you feel you won't be able to make it again. This is a perfectly right conclusion within a condition. Do you see the assumption attached, the condition attached? The condition is, I do not want to change. Now the task remains what it was, and you remain what you were. Obviously, the result would remain what it was. For the result to change, something has to change. The weight of the task hasn't reduced. So what's the only thing that can change? The way you approached it, your assessment of yourself, the effort you put into it, the attention you gave it, that has to change. But the ego does not want to change that. Because to change your actions really, you'll have to change who you are. There is this thing, ego, that wants to defend itself. It does not want to change. It wants better results, definitely. That's what it wants to change, the results. But it does not want to change itself. So it will look at the previous attempt and say, oh, why try again? I'll fail again. And the ego is right. Because the ego does not want to change. If you are prepared to change, nothing is beyond you. It's not that things are too much. We make ourselves too little in front of things. You are not an absolute. You are not a fixed entity. You have a choice. You choose what you want to be internally, and you can choose to be big or small. If you choose to be small, obviously you will be dwarfed in front of big challenges. The challenge is so big, I'm so small, but you have chosen to be small. The challenge is only relatively big. The challenge is not absolutely big. Challenge is big in relation to what you have chosen to be. And that's a sovereign, free choice. You can exercise it. You can say, I can be different. I love this project so much. The importance of this challenge is so much that I have to succeed. I cannot afford to fail. It is something of tremendous importance. It is of so much importance that I would rather change than fail. Right? If self-preservation entails self-destruction, why self-preserve? The ego is fond of self-preservation. It says, oh, please, 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 let me be secure, let me be secure. But that self-preservation, in some moments, is revealed to be self-destruction. It always is, just that the revelation happens selectively, episodically. At least when it becomes obvious that by choosing to remain yourself, you are choosing to condemn yourself. Then choose to change. That's what Vedanta teaches you. Vedanta is a philosophy of great empowerment. I encourage everybody, especially youngsters and intelligent youngsters, to go to Vedanta. You have a choice. That's the central message of Vedanta. You always have a choice. You have a choice not just with respect to things in the world. Your most fundamental choice is with respect to who you are. You can be anything. And you can choose to be absolutely nothing. This choice is the pinnacle of all choices, to choose to be absolutely nothing. Because when you choose to be nothing, then you can afford to be anything. as per the requirement of the great challenge. Right? So when you look at your failures, ask yourself, what was it within me that failed the moment? Even as you look at the task that proved overpowering, also with one eye, look at the one who was overpowered. What was it within me that failed to stand up? And that's the one you need to change or discard. Right? You need not keep a loser within. Is there any fun in that? So identify the loser within and lose it. No? We all make mistakes. We all prove unequal to the tasks at hand. Find out who was sitting within, incapable of the task. Find him and fire him. You are dismissed. Out. I need somebody more competent. Am I making sense? No.
Yes. Yes, I'm getting it.
Every failure then becomes a stepping stone, an opportunity to know yourself and therefore improve. So many wise people have thanked their failures heartfully. They say we would have never realized our weak spots had we not failed in such situations. But remember, the project you take up must be worthy of your love. Otherwise, instead of dropping your weaknesses, you will drop the project itself. The project has to be tremendously lovable. So lovable that you cannot drop it in spite of all the failures. So the project cannot be dropped. Then the only option is to drop the weaknesses.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that gave me quite a lot of clarity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Acharya ji, with this, we have come to the close of the first part of the session.
Okay.
If with your permission, we can go ahead.
Sure.
Second. Chehek, please deliver the closing address, and then we'll close.
On behalf of BITS Embryo, I would like to thank you for this insightful, inspiring, and truly thought-provoking interactions. All of us were really captivated, and it was an immense pleasure to listen to your wise words and learn so much from them. Thank you once again.
Thank you.